Jason Bennett. Welcome to the Boardroom Podcast. It's good to see you this morning, my friend. How are you?
Doing great, doing great. Yeah, just got out of the water with my kids before school. It's freezing. The water just dropped again. It's really cold. It's probably
I
like high
noticed that.
40s.
56 degrees, I think. Do you think?
Yes, it felt like 48-ish. Yeah, it was cold.
48.
I don't know. It's cold. It's cold enough where I got a couple waves that came in.
Yeah, I hear you. How old are you?
I'm 47.
Because I've been told that you should never surf in water that's colder than your age. So,
That's a very good point. Yeah, I'm just on the cusp then. If my calculations are right, but what you're saying is 56. It's probably in the 50s, but it felt cold. And I think as
yeah.
you get older, obviously your bones feel it a little bit more.
Are you starting to feel it?
I'm feeling it. Oh yeah. Oh, oh yeah.
Well, for the listeners that don't know, and it would surprise me, Jason Bennett is the owner and head shaper, the shaper at Chemistry Surfboards in Oceanside. Now that I've got that out of the way, how were the waves up there this morning? It must have been fun. It looked fun.
It seems like it's on the rise, but it's slow moving, kind of northwest-ish swell that misses up here. So it's maybe a chest high set. We only
Yeah,
got half an hour in, so it seemed like as we were leaving, a little bit more waves were popping up.
yeah. And are you wearing booties?
I don't wear booties, no. Just a 4-3.
Yeah. Are your feet numb?
My feet are numb, yes, sir.
Oh.
And I've just got to the factory, and this place is an ice box too, so I'm all bundled up. It's literally we're in a concrete, like four concrete walls, and it's just real tall ceilings. So our insulation is really bad. Yeah, this place stays very cold or very hot.
Yeah. No, I hear you, dude. I'm a cold man myself. And I can't do booties. You can't do booties. Your feet get numb after 30 minutes and it's over.
Yeah, no, I have a hard time. Every time I wear them, I want to go in and just take them right off. So I haven't worn them in years. I usually just do a 4-3 and a hood. If I do a hood, I don't have, I can get away with no booties.
Have you tried those Soul Light booties?
I have, yeah. I maybe got an early set of them, but they're a little thick at the bottom. I just feel like, I don't know. I get up, my feet are stuck, and I feel like I'm just a fish out of water when I wear those things.
Yeah, I hear you. Tell me about the name Chemistry Surfboards. How did you come up with that name?
Chemistry Surfboards, let's see. Man, let me go back. I was riding for Michael Barron at the time when he was doing burn surfboards, which I think he still is. But at the time, he wanted to start something fresh, and uh, we were all very close at the time. Me, a teammate named Jeremy Height, and Michael. And he's like, let's start something new. And we had a buddy that was hanging out at the time shooting photos that worked at Transworld named Aaron Checkwood. And he actually came up with the name. He's like, I think the name Chemistry would be great. It's chemistry between shaper, surfer. And then you could really play off it. You could play off of, the elements. You could play off, like I said, the chemistry you have with the ocean, the surfer shaper relationship. So that's how it was born. And then we just kind of spawned off that, and it went in every which direction.
Well, you and Jeremy, that's quite a collection of you guys are great surfers. What's Jeremy? Did Jeremy start rain sunglasses?
Yep. Yeah, he's still doing it to this day. Yeah, I just saw him 2 days ago at the harbor. Yeah, so
Yeah.
him and his brother started that. I mean, we're 23 years doing chemistry now, maybe almost 24, and they're like almost towards their 20 year, maybe 15, 18. Just soon after, he was early on chemistry, like the first 3 to 4 years, and he fizzled out and he started doing the rain. Just went full bore with the rain with his brother.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I need to get to the bottom of something, which is I've in the past I've seen you and I've gone, hey, thanks for helping me at Salsa Puertas. I'm not. Can you give me some insight? The year was 1998. Salsa Puertas was bombing. The guy cut me off. My labrum, I tore my labrum. My shoulder was down here. And somebody like Jason Murray or somebody was like, hey, Jason Bennett was one of the guys that helped you. So give me some insight here. Do you remember any of
You
this?
bring that up every time. Yeah. Yeah, I do. So that day was funny. Yeah, I went down early in the morning with Rob Key, Saxon Boucher. Who else was with us that day? Maybe John Rose, a few. Oh man, maybe Dean Randazzo was with us. But anyway, we went down early. Super. It was predicted, it was going to get good that day. Super high tide, and we showed up first light. Nobody was there, and it was literally like 2 feet on the rocks. We went and I think we went and had some burritos, whatever, tacos, and came back and literally like around 1 o'clock, two, maybe I don't know, 12, between 12 and 1. And we pulled up and it was like night and day. Tide dropped out and it was pumping. It was literally the best I've seen it down there. And yeah, we paddled. It was hard to paddle out that day. It was bombing. It was maxing, almost closing out that whole bay. And I remember right when it was like our made it out, and right it was as I was paddling out, I haven't got a wave yet. And you later told me that it was yourself, but I just remember this guy was struggling, and he's like, "Oh, I can't swim, or I can't get in my arm." And it was me and somebody else, and I think we put you on our board and brought you in, and then I ended up making it back out. But yeah, that was the beginning of my session, and it got crowded that day. It was like people just kept coming and coming, and it was very consistent. There was a ton of waves. I mean, what do you think? 15 feet on the face. There were some solid waves. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure you must have got some great ones, right?
I think I got like 4 or something like that, 5. It's hard when that crowd's like, everybody keeps pushing each other up the point. Some guys make them, some guys don't. But I remember getting a couple. Yeah. So yeah. And later you told me that was yourself. So I'm glad
Yeah.
everything went all right.
And as I recall, that day it wasn't like there was just some COVID blow-ins that were out there. It was all A-list California surfers such as yourself, Parsons, a bunch of San Diego guys. Like it seemed like it was all the guys out there were, hungry.
There were some solid ways. I think later on in one of the Lost videos, that session was filmed. But I mean, that was pre all like iPhone, and all the forecasting was very meek. It wasn't you weren't getting like ton of great information, so you kind of had to hear about something, go down there and hope for the best. And like I said earlier, we went down early hearing about it, and it wasn't happening. And to come back to our surprise, that swell hit middle of the day, the tide dropped out. It was pumping. But I mean, as the day went on, people caught wind, whatever, or knew to come down with the tide. But yeah, it got packed.
I think also there was a crew of guys that were at Todos that surfed that full tide, came home and drove up and saw it and just pulled off and paddled
That's
out at like two
okay.
o'clock.
Yeah. I think might have remembered that. But yeah, it was good. It was one of those classic days. I mean, I haven't surfed it that good since. I mean, I tried to get a couple times. I've missed those last 3 or 4 swells that I've seen that pop up, on social media. I'm like, it looks fun, but I don't know if I have the patience for like the crowd and having a full day like that and to go do all that again. It's like one of those things. It was a chapter back then. Hopefully, maybe in the future, do it again. But yeah, it's different day and age.
Yeah, and we're a different age. Like talk to me about as you grow older, for me, my window of where I go and when I go is much smaller. And is that the sense that you have that you're kind of shrinking your
Yeah,
opportunities?
yeah, it's like we crawl deeper in our holes as we get older. I don't know. I mean, me, I've got a routine that it's just a chapter I guess I'm at where my kids are just pre-driving 15, 14, 15, and they're just about to drive, so they're not. They're social, so I'm driving them around, drop them off at school, try to get a surf, go to the factory, and I go home again. And I'm literally, that's a 5 mile circle from my house to their school, to the pier, the harbor, back to the factory. We're right off the 76. So it's an easy circle. It gets redundant. I feel sometimes it's, groundhogs, but I'll do that for like 6 months, and then I'll plan a trip somewhere, and then I get my fix, but
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. It shrinks your timing and how much time you do have, and how much you do get to enjoy your local service, because it's like it seems like when we are at home, we always got something to do, which is kind of a bummer. I don't know. Society just set us up. It's like we're these hamsters in this wheel, man, and yeah, it's hard to get out of that wheel sometimes.
Yeah. Well, when you have kids, you got a life. It's a good place. You're in a good place, as you know. Um, Tell me about your pro career, though. Characterize your pro surfing career. You are and you were a red hot surfer, especially back in the early '90s. Tell me about that. How did that play out?
I mean, I gotta say, like, luck of timing for sure. I mean, did the whole amateur thing since I was 10. Turned pro at 18, and I was lucky to be the booming of, like, the industry was really booming that mid to late '90s, and I was with Bob and Paul Gomez at Billabong first. they picked me up when I was 14, 15, and then they turned me pro when I was 18. And it was like they had this vision, and they invested back into their vision of, and their vision was bringing, the local community of, from these towns that had these surfers that were wanting to compete, that wanted to shoot photos and do these photo trips. They invested back and they gave us a career. And, I don't think that it was as big as it is, as many people doing it. So then again, going back into luck of timing, where the guys that were pro, that, I'd say that B level, where we could, win a contest here in the local contest and then go on the road, do a trip that would be covered in Surfer Magazine, and you could get paid pretty well. And, it's funnest time of my lives, literally from like 18 to 25. A lot of the budgets really opened, and they were like, you guys want to go to Tavarua? You guys want to go here? You want to go over to Europe? They did it, and we had a great time, and I won some some pro-am contests. I got the cover of Surfer Magazine, which was kind of my highlight, a bunch of center spreads, and I had a decent amateur career. I was a national champion, so I had a little run. I never made the CT. I kind of fell into, like, I remember it was a turning point when Bob switched over to Hurley, and he was like, "Hey, what do you got? Like, what's your guys' hip?" Paul, pretty much Gomez, he was running the team, him and Jeff Hurley at the time, and they're like, "What do you guys want to do?" And this is our vision, and this is where we kind of see you guys going. And they're like, if you guys want to do the contest thing, we're kind of not about that. We kind of want you guys just to be the, hometown heroes and go travel and get photos in Surfer and Surfing Magazine. It was a big thing to get, like, to open that mag and see a center spread or even a full page. You could get great photo incentive off that. And, it was a fun time, and it was classic because we were shooting film. Literally would shoot, like, Rob Keith would hit us up in the morning, whoever, Jack English, one of the local photographers, and be like, hey, you guys want to shoot? And yeah, okay, it's offshore, it's 4 feet, 5 feet. And, we'd shoot either fisheye or just, some 600 from the jetty or whatever. But we were so anxious to see the photos. Digital hasn't happened yet. So we would take their rolls of film, run down to Chrome in San Diego, wait for it was like a 2-hour development, and especially if it was pumping, we were like at Bob Malibu and we were getting like closeout tubes, and it was 6 to 8 feet. Like, we were really anxious, but yeah, you'd wait to see what you got, out of those slides, and sit there with the little loop, and hopefully you got a good photo, and literally, like, I mean, 5 out of 10 times, like on those good days, one of those photos from one of the crew that we'd be shooting with would be in that mag 2 months later, you know? So it was a fun time.
Tell me about your cover shot. What was your cover shot?
Yeah, I mean,
What was the month? What was the year? What happened?
it was 2002, but I don't remember the month, but it was not that eventful. It's like a top turn, like a little, like, fin blow from the power plant down in Mexico, but it was a fisheye shot from Rob Keith. Um, I shot a lot with him. He lived right by me, so he was, and he was on it. He was a staff photographer at Surfer, and we had a good relationship. It was like a crew, like 4 or 5 of us, that would always, like, link up with him in the morning, and,
Yeah, yeah, that's cool.
yeah.
Yeah, that was a good time, right? That
Yeah, I
was
mean, it was, and I made that transition when it went digital, and I remember a lot of the old guys were just like, man, I saw a lot of them fade out. They're like, everybody can shoot photos now, and they're good. And then Photoshop came out, and then, it's like a push of a button could edit it and fix the lighting, which, the technology, it's great, but it did put these guys put years of time, in their lives to have to hone this craft, of, like, their where their shutters and f-stops were at, and what lighting and how to set up their water housings, and then
Oh yeah.
so
Yeah, I was right in the middle of it too, because you know, I was at Surfer, as you know, and I mean, Gilly and those guys, they would talk to you about the silvers that you can get in film that you can't get in digital. There's certain, and they're correct. I don't mean I don't know anything about it. I'm not a photographer, but I know that they were just, you know, very into their craft, and it was quite a disruptor, the digital age, for the photographers.
yeah, no, I saw a lot of them just kind of peter off. It was kind of like, I guess that, just kind of walked off, and like, all right, that was my time,
Yeah,
but it's brought a lot of, kids out, it gave a lot of people jobs, and a lot of, the elevation of, like, just, photography, and, how you can just go shoot your friend and get a good photo, and, and do a surf edit, and
yeah,
pay someone $400 or $500 to do that. you could do yourself. So, it's that gift and curse.
Well, speaking of that, you were shaping boards in '05, I believe, at Chemistry, and we had a disruption in the surfboard manufacturing industry, and that Clark Foam closed down the Black Monday. I think it was in December of 2005. How did that affect you as a young business person in the space here? What was going on in your head? Do you recall getting the facts? Did you hear? How did you hear about it? It's like kind of like 9/11 for us. It's like everyone
Yeah.
remembers.
Yeah, and I was pretty new. Like we just started in 2002, so I literally was only shaping, 2, 3 years, and I was with Michael Barron at the time, still at his factory, and I was there when the facts came in. It was just like, and just um, obviously those guys were doing a lot longer, so it hit them a lot harder. I was just kind of blown away. Like, what does that mean? I just invested. I stopped everything I was doing to do this. Like, what do you mean? And I just remember it was like he had. He had a great report. Michael did with Clark Foam. We had a great stockpile. Michael was always good on making sure he was tidy with them. So I remember they were like, hey, and they kind of gave you a list, like, this is our inventory, and we're going to go down a list by like who was loyal and paid and did all this. And Michael was up top on that list. And I remember like, okay, kind of just planning out. We'll be good for this much time. And we had a stockpile. And then it was like, when that finally started fizzling out, we just started getting like a lot of junk blanks. Um, in hindsight, I think it helped me because I remember we were pulling blanks out of the rafter that were just like, because those all those R plugs that we were hand shaping at that time, they were nice. They were foiled. They were ready to go. You'd burn and turn those things. The rockers were there. You skim them, turn your rails. Put your bottom in, and they were nice. So when obviously like going back and we said when they shut down and we were grabbing all these blanks out of the rafter, they were hefty, big old chunky things that were like one-offs where somebody was trying to start a blank company or they came from Australia. They just weren't the plugs I was used to. And I had to dig into them and I had to like take this big blank and make a little shortboard. At that time, '02, '03, everything was real rockered out and thin and they were big blanks and the rockers were shitty. So I really had to work. And I think it honed me to like take something that was big and make it, which is a lot more work and refine it. So, and that lasted, I mean, shoot, through 2, 3, 4 years till like the blanks started getting better and better. US came out and then Marty and Andrew went and they had Surf Links and they got Surf Links license. And then that went into Arctic, and the Millennium showed up. I remember the Millenniums were really nice and the foam just started getting better and better. And then I remember like thinking to myself, I don't remember, maybe it was '08, '09. I'm going, wow, this stuff was kind of, it's easier shaped than the Clark stuff was. So it spawned new life and I think a better product at the end of the day.
Is it because it's a closer tolerance blank, or is it the actual mix? Like is the foam softer now? Or the Clark blanks? How are the Clark blanks to shape relative to, say, an Arctic blank now?
I mean, yeah. Let's see. I mean, the Clark planed really nice. Like a lot of their formulas, was really planer friendly, but I think the weights, and then there was obviously always like shotgun issues in some of the blanks, and the how white they were, right? They always had that yellow hue to them, so they started getting those UV inhibitors in the blanks, so they started getting that nice white looking, and then the density. I remember we got the Surf blanks that came over, and the Bennett, I think, from Australia, and it was just wow. We're like, wow, this stuff's really dense, and those nice plywood stringers, like, oh, these things surf really well too, like they kind of feel better than just that basswood and those Clarks, and it's like, oh, okay, they're onto something, and I can't say they hand shape better because it was like a denser. The formulas are denser, I feel, and so they do tear more. You got to be slower and but they're stronger. It's a better product at the end of the day for the end user.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you bring up sort of the good that came out of the bad. Obviously, there was also some Asian imports at this time. Like the Clark thing just really kind of opened up a spigot for crazy blank companies, guys knocking on your door with mixing resin right in front of your face or mixing foam in front of you. And a lot of Asian imports, like the globalization basically of the surfboard marketplace was sort of brought into fruition because Clark was kind of like uh, he was kind of like a union boss almost because he owned the space. nobody else could come in. As soon as he left, there was a vacuum and a bunch of people came in. Were you affected at all by imported surfboards?
I mean, 110%. I would say directly at that era, I'd say fast forward to like our present day in Oceanside. Yeah, I mean, 100%. Like I'm door to door. Like if you came out of my door to the next door, Hayden Shapes moved in here a year and a half, 2 years ago. Literally, the truck pulls up, the 18 wheeler, and they unload boards out of the box right next to as my guys are out the back, dripping, resin off, their shoes, and like it's a juxtaposition here now in Oceanside. I mean, from that door to door. Then you have JS moved in, I'd say a mile away. Like I'm in this little vortex of these imports, and it's a weird time where I feel like you have people that make surfboards, you have people that sell surfboards, and we're starting to see a lot more people that just sell surfboards, and a lot of these people like they don't have resin. It's sad they never had to drop a resin in their hands. Their customer walks out with the board in the box still that they don't even take the board out of the box as they walk out the parking lot. So it's a sight to see. You're welcome to come down and see. It happens daily.
I believe
They
it.
give them hard. I mean, hard. Capitalism, right? At the end of the day, but
Yeah.
it's sad to see it happening. And I'd say that it's been happening the last 2 years. But just in North County, San Diego, you got Firewire Rice and Carlsbad, right? You have, like I said, you have JS here, you have Hayden Shapes. So I'm seeing a lot of this stuff locally where it COVID the spring of like, okay, there's a big market, people are buying boards, let's expand globally, and here's the hub, but yeah, it's affecting the local business big time. We're seeing a lot more of like the manufacturers around here not non-existent, like either shutting their doors or going in, literally like everybody's starting to go in with each other, starting to like, shack up and like share space because, our rent got doubled, and, the competition is high. There's an influx of surfboards in San Diego. So the local market, yeah, has struggled big time.
Well, explain to the listeners that there's probably a lot of listeners that don't know about where your factory is and what that hub of Airport Road right there that for decades was basically where, a huge chunk of surfboards were manufactured, shaped, glassed,
Right.
picked up, surfed by local guys. And I guess in a way, I just kind of explained it, so you don't need to. But and now you're saying that, yeah, okay, we've got just trucks, container fulls of already made boards popping in, and guys are just wholesaling them.
Yeah. So like I said, I didn't see that back right when Clark, closed their doors, but yeah, you're seeing it now. I mean, oh, sorry, repeat that question. So like,
Well,
you're talking about like all the local guys here making boards, and
I just wanted the listeners to understand that where you're at is a hub of surfboard
okay.
manufacturing. And some of those guys, if not quite a few, have had to either disband their businesses, lose their businesses, or um, change the way they do business because of the influx of imported surfboards.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, yeah, like you're saying, it is a hub right off airport and production in Oceanside. It's 5 minutes off the five, off the 76, and literally, it is a hub where like we're right here. Like I said, Hayden's right next door to us. Across the street, you have Harborside, which is Michael and DJ, and they're doing literally all the Pizels. Like during COVID, they were doing, I don't know, they were saying over 150 boards a week. That's a lot of, that's a lot right there. And their numbers are still high. So they're doing the Pizels over there, plus their own labels. Then you right next door to them, you have the lab that does all the CIs. I mean, just as areas
Who's
have.
doing local boards? Like you're a local guy, Michael Barron, obviously Dennis. Uh, Are those the only three? Or there's I think Tim Crozier at Blackbird Surfboards. And are there any other local shapers building boards out of there?
It was a fruitful valley for sure. It has this,
XTR, Javier.
yeah, it's diminished, and I mean, he's not doing it anymore. I mean, he ended up selling it to Shea, so he's in Peru. Yeah, so he's not over there anymore.
Oh,
Um, but yeah, so there, yeah, you have Michael, you have Scott Ray's back, you got Wally Pua, David
oh yeah,
Barr. Um, you have, gosh, you have the young guys. You have like Micah Butts, who's a great shaper.
yeah. Okay, good. Well, that's good to hear.
Yeah, Gary's around here. He brings all
Oh
his.
yeah,
So Lyndon drives his stuff over to Dave Barth, but we're all this little like I see one of those guys on a daily where I'm going over there and Gary's dropping boards or Michael's across the street waving at Michael. So we're all, the circle's shrinking, and we're all holding on like, we're like for dear life, we're like, okay, when are we like, gonna like the match and just walk away or either, or
Like that already happened, man.
yeah, Kaiser Soze. It's just like, yeah, it's like one of those days. It's like just walk away from the whole thing. It's like it's got hard down here. That this area was built in the late '50s by a group of brothers from Oceanside, and they held on to this property into their '90s. They're twin brothers, the Giuseppos, and one of the brothers passed away, so the family inherited it. They sold half of it off. So investors came in, bought 25 of the buildings, which were all in, and they, typical capitalist, came in, tore out the grass, tore out the palm trees, hardscaped it, and doubled the rent, and never been inside our places. You know what I mean? Like, you
Yeah.
guys go. So it's tough down here now. Yeah, we're, so I feel like it's making whoever is down here a little closer together and working with each other and helping each other out and whatnot. And like I said, people are starting to share spaces with each other and, just to create, a good product.
And Jeff at Global, he's still down there?
Oh yeah, that's why I forgot Jeff. Xanadu's right across the street. I mean, these are all, just
Yeah.
literally, 4 steps away from us.
What
So
about Birch? Wasn't Birch there for a while?
Birch was with us when he first started. So the factory I'm at now, I was across the street. He was with me over there for, I don't know, 8 years, maybe, for a long time. And
Yeah.
then he ended up I think he's shaping out in Vista. He got a place out in Vista now.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, speaking of disruptors, another disruptor besides the Clark foam situation was the era of COVID. And this was just an incredible boom for you guys. Surfboards were flying out the door. As we look back, here we are, whatever it is, 5 or 6 years later. What are your thoughts on COVID? Good, bad, indifferent? I mean, at the time it was great, but did we get too excited?
I mean, we built a lot of surfboards. I never saw anything like it since I was building boards. How the influx of orders that came in and the demand, it pushes to a brink. Which with crew wise, I mean, with like me trying to bring in new people, a lot of mistakes were made. We were trying to pump numbers, so it made us step up our production game. Of like how many boards we could do. I think we all got really excited. We all built a lot of stuff. Luckily for us, we're way more of a custom shop than a stock shop. So I didn't build a ton of custom, but I was doing third-party glass jobs here. People, and I would, like, me and my partner Will, at the end of the day, we never wanted to say no because we've been in the era like the 2008s and 9s where it was tough. Like we're like, so if somebody brings a board in, I'm like, we could do it. They're like, gloss polish, glass on fins, black, yeah, we'll do it. Like I don't say no, but it's kind of, but yeah, so we bit off more than we could chew. We built a lot, and I think everybody built a lot. So we have this, and I think we're still dealing with the overflow of surfboards in the market, and things have not purged. You see a lot of the secondhand stores like the surfboard brokers, the board sources, and you look at any of their posts on social media, they're going in and they're, I mean, I don't know about board sources, but I know surfboard broker, they're getting tons of surfboards from a lot of these manufacturers, and they're still kind of still flooding the market. Those need homes. So all these surfboards need homes, and they don't have homes. Like, on our end as a manufacturer, sales get stale, and they start slowing down, and that's where we're at right now. Where I think COVID was great. It was a big money grab for everybody. We made a ton of money, not a ton, but decent for the surfboard industry. But how fast it fell off, it was just like up as fast as you could go and down as fast as you could go. And that's where we're at, where people
Yeah.
see on inventory, surfboards need homes. And, as manufacturers, we want to build boards, so we're kind of it's a holding pattern, right?
Yeah, it's interesting that for years, there was like surf retail, like Surf Ride, for instance, and then there was direct to consumer, like, oh, I saw Jason surfing and I ordered a board.
Yeah.
And I would say in the last, I don't know, let's call it 10 or 8 years, these, for lack of a better phrase, kind of gray market, it emerged, which is these surfboard only brick and mortars that are killing it, that are not on the coast, that are inland, that are just stocked with boards. And they seem to be doing a good job. Is that a good thing for you, Jason, or is that a bad thing for you? Have you approached them and said, hey, I've got some blems,
Right. I mean, I think going back into where like that's, I keep using it with a gift and a curse, where it's gonna, double-edged sword, where it's gonna help you at a time of need. You need you got payroll coming up, you got rent coming up, you're buying a bunch of stuff, you need a chunk of money. Yeah, it's gonna float that, but it's tricky because you can't flood your product out there and you secondhand it and fire sell your stuff, because then the supply and demand goes down. So, in a time of need, yeah, but like us personally, we try moving it ourselves, or like we'll give the surfboard brokers a few batches here and there, but we don't try to flood it, because it's like you want that consumer to come back to you, not to these third parties, and there's a lot of them. If it's not like, these businesses, people are just doing it through social media, and going back into how much we built, there is a lot of inventory. And what we see now with a lot of people is they're bringing boards from Hawaii, from all over, and they're coming back to North County, San Diego, and they're selling them here. So local business, it's getting very tricky, from imports to boards coming over from different states, from different countries, and it's just landing here, and so
Yeah.
there's a big inventory, and you, at the end of the day, you want that customer to come to you, that direct relationship with them, that repeat customer. So you don't want them to go, at the end of the day, yeah, it's like, you got to move some stuff. It's a business. It's like, you can't sit on inventory too long. But like I was saying earlier, we try not to stock too much inventory. So
Yeah. Do you think that the COVID surfer has, the COVID surfer came along, he had money in his pocket. Maybe he bought a soft top from Costco. Maybe he bought a used board somewhere. Maybe he came in and ordered a brand new board from Jason, from you. Does Has the COVID surfer come back and purchased more boards, or is he like, okay, cool, I've got my board for the rest of my life, much like his mountain bike or his pair of skis? Like, he's
yeah,
not an enthusiast, he's almost like a hobbyist.
I think that's a good question. I was just, I was talking to somebody about this the other day, that we have seen that guy, and I think coming back. And I think that has to do with the information age, where like there's so much information. These guys that did get in, that COVID surfer that got into it, they go home, they're having their beer, their wine, whatever. They're going online and they're reading all these, the blogs. Hey, you need to get this fin. Oh, you're having a little bit of trouble. Like, obviously these guys come in, they think that what they're going to get is going to change their surfing. And you're trying to help their surfing progress, but there's only so much at the end of the day that we could do as, as a board builder to help these guys. But, they're, they want, they're like, okay, I was on this, but now I want this. And, I heard that the 2+1's great, so I want to try that. So we get a ton of those guys, and they're great, and they're so
I'm one of those guys.
they're so stoked. And it's like better than some team kid coming in that lost his contest. And like, these guys, you see the joy of like, hey, these guys really are enjoying surfing, and they're into what we built, and they're into like all this stuff. And like I said, there's only a certain degree that what we can do to make them progress, and it's hard when these guys start later on in life to, so the big question we get is, will the board duck dive better than my last board? Like, they all want to duck dive really good. Bless their hearts, man. They're keeping the industry going, especially like what we hear is like, oh, we heard you're the local company. We want to support local. And we heard that we could come in and talk to you, and you'll build me the board where, and I could get a custom laminate up here on it and whatnot. And, they're the blood of, they're the lifeline of like, the custom business for sure.
Yeah. And you mentioned them being able to look online, coming home, having a beer, seeing something on Instagram and getting excited about a new product. And it brings me to the concept of marketing and the surfboard business. Obviously, now more than ever, there are great marketers that maybe can't even pick up a planer, but
Right.
moving product. And frankly, they're engaging and they're very good at what they do. Um, do you sense that? And by the way, you're really good at this. Chemistry is good at this. But I guess my question is, do you think chemistry feeds off, like, do you get free marketing from those guys that are doing tons of marketing? Do you think that guys look and say, oh, there's this Twinser thing or whatever, and then they come to you? Like, are you benefiting from other people's marketing, I guess is my question.
We have forever, I mean, especially the bigger brands, where they want to support us, but say, hey, it's, whoever CI is putting, a lot of marketing money into something, and the way that they, get it out there, they got a broad audience, and people come to us all the time. And I try not to really I try to really focus on what we're doing, but they come to me like, hey, this the blowfish board, can you do this? Like, I expect to know what like I'm watching all these things. I'm like, yeah, I don't know what it is, but can you show me a photo and I'll make it for him? Like give them my version of they're saying that board is. But yes, we get it all the time of people that like, that get into some type of, vortex of that, once you search something, they're all popping up and they're seeing all the latest and greatest. And yeah, they come to us and they're like, hey, we want a chemistry, but we like want to try this spin. They said it, this board goes very fast, So we're like, okay, we'll give it a go.
Yeah, there is a cyclical nature, of course, to surfboard design and especially now what's quote unquote fashionable. What
Right.
would you suggest right now as sort of the surfboard du jour?
The du jour, probably I'd say 6.0 to 7.0 mid length, 2+1, maybe, it's just one of those things, flatter rocker, a guy that could surf could still surf it, rip it. A guy's not going out all the time could go out, sit off the back and get a ton of waves. Something really nice with maybe a gloss, a resin tin on it, maybe a custom airbrush they really like. So I think it falls in that range, where the short boards are, it takes a certain person. The long boards, that there is, that clientele, but that middle ground, maybe even bigger, maybe going up to like a 7.6, 6.0 to
Yeah,
7.6. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I sense that, for like my sense is that, let's say last year or even 2 years ago, it was this round pin twin fin.
Right.
That was kind of like the board that was kind of that I saw online everywhere. And then perhaps as part of my doing, the twinsers seem to be kind of like the surfboard du jour. And maybe before all of that, the quadfish. Um, and so I'm just wondering, like, what's next? What do you like? Because part of what you have to do is kind of like be like just a little bit ahead of the game.
You
Or maybe
do,
not.
yeah.
Maybe it's better to be a week behind the game and just see what CI is
Yeah.
going to do. And then,
Yeah, I mean, you gotta keep inventing for sales. Yeah, you gotta keep inventing, or we're all regurgitating at the end. There is some new and really, you know, I'd say groundbreaking stuff, but it's few and far in between. And I think we're reinventing and we're fine tuning what was done before. And like where I'm at right now, it's like a lot of the fin placements. Like going back in the Twinsers, I played a lot for the last 2 years, and it's a tricky board. You got to make sure those fins are just right. Play with a lot of that fin placement there. The 2+1. I've been like I have this new model called the Zenith, and I made it as a 2+1. And I ended up not having those twin fins in my car one day, and I threw in a pair of large thruster. So those fins are sitting where a 2+1 would be, that would work better. So I'm like, wait a minute. So I'm kind of reinventing, like taking stuff I already had and making fine tune adjustments. I think the main thing what people want is speed. When it's speed, then able to catch a wave, right? So when they get up and the board goes fast, you're gonna be able to do maneuvers. So I'm always when I'm shaping, it's like make this thing go fast for the customer, and it a lot to do with placements, like going back into fins, like there's too much cant, like the board's going to feel draggy. So let's straighten those back out a little bit. Let's put them a little bit more towards center, put them under your foot a little bit more, have a little bit more control. It feels like it's washed out. If it feels loose, put a bigger set of fins in, especially nowadays with the fin systems and how easy like an FCS2 pops in and out. You could ride 3 fins in a session and it's not that hard. Put them on the beach and pop them in and out and get 3 different rides, So go those fine adjustments, taking what you had, fine tuning it.
you know, I've often said that fins are the most important part of the board, and it's also the part that I neglect the most. You mentioned, oh, you just happen to forget some fins, so you put some new ones in.
Yeah.
Um, Speak to me a little bit about, I guess it's almost like we're either lazy or we're like, why don't we? And maybe it's just me, but why don't we as a tribe of surfers play with our fins more during each and every session?
Yeah, I mean, I think that you nailed it right there. It's like we put a board in our car and we get stuck on it. You had I don't know. It could go both ways. You had that one guy that pulls up that like he's like pulls out this Rolodex of fit. It's like ding 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 ding. He's like, what do you need? He's like a drug dealer, fins and wax and all that shit. Like, but or then you have the other guys like, and that's kind of me too. Like literally, I'm building boards every day. And I just like whatever in the back of my van, I'll ride that for like 2 months. You know what I mean? And we just we're those guys that just get stuck on it. So
Yeah. It's funny, when I think about the surfboard evolution, the timeline of surfboards, you know, usually we spend and I'm just sort of generalizing, but we spend maybe, you know, 6 or 7 years in one sort of design phase. Like say in the 90s, we had those chippy, the boards you talked about, Kelly's chippy thin supermodel boards. And then in the like the mid 2000s, everyone was riding fishes and alternative boards were kind of the thing. But there was these long periods of time when we were engaged in those. And I often think that the transition period from say 67 to 71 or 2, everything happened so quick. They were just like trying new stuff so quickly that if it didn't work, there's like, nope. And I sense that they didn't give those designs enough time to percolate and to fine tune them. They just threw them away. Have you ever thought about it like that? Like maybe there's some secret hidden gem design ideas in that transition period that we just neglected and we forgot to go back to it.
I mean, 100%. There's always like a little something, you know. I mean, if you think you're the first to do it, it's probably been done before. And there's, you know, there's guys in their, you know, in their garage just whittling away and trying stuff. And there's probably stuff that just never, yeah, 100%. This never been seen, and it could be refined, you know, from certain bottom contours, you know, bin placements,
Let me
material.
ask you this. We've got ASIMs, we've got Twinsers, we've got fluted wings, composites, different foams, all sorts of stuff. Should surfboard design just be simple?
Keep it, what does I say? Keep it simple, stupid. I mean, at the end of the day, water likes, you know, it doesn't want it doesn't want too many elements to mess it up. Like it's like the flatter it is, you know, the more simple it is, you know, it's less stuff's gonna react on it, you know. So yeah, I mean, I think there's too many bells and whistles, you're gonna run into some problems for sure. That's why it's like I found myself like during the quad phase, like taking like I had a hard time. I felt like there's just too much stuff on the bottom of my board. Like I was like, I can't ride these things. And I know that in certain conditions when you're getting tubed and stuff, like you have enough speed, you're not going to fill it. But like day to day, I'm like, there's just too much stuff going on, especially if you're adding channels on it, and you know, and you really start filling all that. You go back to, you know, simplify the thing, you know, drop the rocker, light concave in it, a thruster, a twin plus trailer. You can't go wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's something to that. I've noticed that as I get older, I'm like, you know what? It seems like just the super simple boards are the ones I like the best. You know, I start getting all sorts of crazy stuff, and before you know it, I can't even do a bottom turn.
Yeah, it's funny. You see these guys are just like taking these little plugs. They just like first. We have a lot of guys that come through here that, you know, that drop off their backyard stuff that we glass for them, and I'll see them out. I'm like, it works great, huh? And they're just beaming. They're like, yeah, things flying. The thing's a chunker, but it's like, you know, ignorance is bliss. Like they didn't know, and it's like the thing works. It floats and goes fast, and you see these guys having a ball on them. So yeah, it just shows you like sometimes things are overthought, you know. But as board builders, we're trying to make them look really pretty, foil them out, impress the other shapers, you know, and yeah, sometimes those are the ones that have the most problems.
Well, you've impressed the heck out of me. Look, you were in the Icons of Foam, the Boardroom International Surfboard Show. We have that shaping competition, Icons of Foam. We honored Timmy Patterson 2 or 3 years ago, and you were involved in that. And you did great. You got through Tim Stamps, who was a Shaper of the Year. You got through Robert Weiner, I believe. Is that right?
I think Weiner was a shaper of the year. May is from surfing, maybe a few
I
years.
don't, yeah. But I
One of
mean,
those
both
guys.
great shapers, and you
Yeah.
blew, I wouldn't say you blew through them, but you bested them. And then we had this great, exciting final between you and Rick Rock. That was a lot of fun. Tell me a little bit about that. What was that experience like for you?
I mean, leading up to it, I was like, okay, if I show up, I want to make sure that you know, that I have all my hand shaping stuff on point. So for like the month prior, I made sure like I would do my work for the day, and I would hand shape 2 boards a day. And every day that I hand shaped, I did a different board. I even did a longboard. I did a 9/6 gun. I just threw like fishes. Obviously, I did like a 6 channel double wing thing. You know, Timmy's known for something like that. So I kind of was ready when I came in. It was it's a fun experience because it really, you know, it tests your skills in that time restraint, you know. And I knew that those guys would be picky on the rockers and the bottoms and stuff like that. So I was just making sure, hey, as long as I'm hitting my rocker numbers, I knew they were going to measure those, the bottoms and stuff like that. The important parts of the board, I think I can make it. few or
Yeah.
three heats, and yeah, I made the final against Rick Rock, and and that was a hard one. Timmy saved that 6 channel, and I kind of blew it. I wish, because I was getting through my boards pretty quick, that I spent, if I do it again, I would spend more time checking the board out and not worried about just jumping in and cutting out my outline and start playing it. I would be like, spend 10 minutes, look at the board, really feel it, and then going, because I know I could do the board in that time restraint, no problem. And I didn't do that with that 6 channel. I didn't really flip it over and check out the rails, and I blew it. I didn't do the flat deck rail, and because I got into my channels, I did the 6 channels. I did that in an hour and a half where I got through the whole thing, but my foil was wrong on it. And I'm like, God damn it. Like, I wish I just would have spent 5 to 10 more minutes just checking the board out, and I would have got through. So,
Did Timmy talk to you afterwards about your board?
Tim and yeah, it was pretty chaotic afterwards because everybody's kind of excited. Rick won, and everybody's, and everything. And they gave me some insight. I made a mistake too. I add these little 2 wings because on the out, then again, I didn't look at the board long enough, so it looked like with the 6 channels came off, it had these little baby wings in it, and it was weird because they were him and Roger Hines were templating the boards prior to us getting them. So I'm like, the board came in, I'm like, it doesn't have the wings in it, huh? And because it's such a deep channel, it's the deep 6, that when they come off the back, they create almost like, it looks like they're little wings. But I just didn't look at the board long enough. I'm like, oh, so I actually I templated the wings in myself. Like, I'm like, oh, little baby wings, 6 channel. And then after I looked, I'm like, oh, God dang it, it doesn't have wings in it. So yeah, they're like, oh yeah, you have these little baby wings and the deck's not there, but board probably worked it was a little bit more conventional, a little bit more updated version of what it was wrong on the timing. Like, that thing was probably like late 80s. I thought when I saw it was maybe early 90s, and the way I refined it and foiled the deck and everything, it was wrong, but I made the final and got through the board.
You did great. You did
Appreciate
absolutely
it.
great. And your crew, you brought a great crew. There was so much good energy around it. It was wonderful.
Appreciate it. Yeah, I got a good support team for sure.
Tell me about what you're riding. Like, what is your go-to board right now? What does Jason Bennett ride?
I mean, daily, we have this model called the Zen 4, which is, a 2+1, little wider nose, flat rocker, little 4-channel board, and it kind of works in everything. When I don't have, that much time on my hands, I'll ride that. And waves are subpar, I'm able to get, my wave count up, and I'll go fast and have fun. There's waves, I still ride a shortboard. I still ride a 5'9", 29-liter shortboard. I love thumb tails and I love swallowtails. I think they're the 2 best tails out there. I like a little chunkier rail, a little flatter
What
rock.
about EPS or poly?
I like polys. I've
Yeah.
tried all the alternative technology. I'm a little bit heavier. I feel like all like the stringerless and all that stuff. I just feel like there's moments, but I feel like how I push, they kind of wobble on me, and I feel like I'm thrown off. I don't get a pure flow out of them.
Yeah, I've struggled with some EPS too. The one foam that I did enjoy was Javier's foam. Have you ridden any of that, the XTR?
Yeah. The funny thing is, Javier was my first board sponsor back in like 89, 90, when he first opened up XTR right down here in the Valley. So I've known Javier a long time. So I rode his epoxies when he first started doing epoxies. So
Yeah.
Obviously the stuff got a lot better now.
Yeah.
And I just did one. Shay brought one over for one of my customers. And yeah, everybody, the new stuff, what I've heard, everybody claims it's the best epoxy out there. Really hard to shape. The stuff's just tough. And it's like, yeah, it's really tough, but I guess people are really enjoying it. So I know he's been the guy that's been, him and Greg Lohr, I think, have really been forefront of epoxy for a long time. And Javier's put in some years on it. So,
yeah, he has.
doing.
He has. I'm glad to hear he's retired. I didn't know he was gone. That's cool.
He's in Peru. He's back in Peru. I think he still comes out and helps a little bit, but I took over the business for him, and he's doing a good job over there.
I sense Javier is probably training for a contest somewhere.
Great shape, man. He stays young. Yeah, I don't know. It's his genes or what, but every time I see him, it's like he looks the same.
What about alternative stuff like let's call it like agave or varial foam or balsa even? Have you done any of that
Yeah,
stuff?
I've done a bunch of, not a bunch. I've done a few agaves, actually cut down the stock and glued it up myself and done them.
Oh, cool.
I don't know how many more I'll do of those, or it's rough, it's dirty. You know,
Yeah.
maybe my retired age, but like production, like if I do one in my room, it really it messes the whole factory up.
Yeah.
Haven't done a balsa. I've done a ton of varial foam. I've done the polyola foam. I've done, yeah, pretty much everything out there, like alternative wise. Um,
Tell me about the polyola. That's from Arctic, isn't it?
it's Arctic, yeah. It's a group. They're out of Europe, and
Like a biofoam?
a hybrid. It's half recycled and half regular
Okay.
polystyrene. It has, like a little yellow brown hue to it, but it has a cool look to it. A lot of guys like the way it surfs. It has a good little flex pattern to it, and I've done like 3 or 4 of them. I got one for myself, and yeah, it was nice. I don't
Yeah.
know how much it'll take off. It's just one of those things. It's weird because it seems like once a new technology comes out, it's there for a little bit and everybody reverts back to polys. It's, we still got Solomon blanks here. I got those hollow, like 10 of those things sitting up my rafters. I'm like, yeah. And that technology was pretty cool. It's like they had that was pretty dialed. Those hollow
Yeah.
floors and used to blow them up. And,
Yeah.
yeah, for
That's
the
crazy.
flex. Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah. The
Like,
Solomon.
a lot of stuff comes and goes.
Yeah, it does. It does. Well, look, one last question. The there's some manufacturers moving boards down to Mexico, down to Ensenada, to have them built. Is that something that you've thought about? Is there savings there? Is that something that makes sense?
I mean, it's getting harder and harder, building boards here. We've had a factory now, like glassing our own boards for 15 years. The crews come and go. It's hard to keep a really good crew. I don't know. It's one of those things you've already put so much into building and your team and, and fine tune everything you have and to throw in, the towel and go, I'm done. I don't know. It's hard. It's a hard for one for me to chew. It's like I put so much, dedicate so much of myself, my teams has to build these boards, making these small profits. Like, it kills us at times, but it's like, we're not there right now. No, it's like we're stamping like, hey, we're going to be building these boards here. I mean, there's a lot of things are shaky at the moment, so it's
Yeah.
like I don't know what's up. Like, literally, it's like we come in and we're just like, okay, we're gonna get some blanks today. Let's build boards. We've stayed steady. We got a great customer base, so we've stayed steady for the last couple of years. Um, I got a strong team, so it would be hard
Good,
for me to do that.
good,
Yeah,
good, good.
but I
I'm
mean,
glad.
yeah, it's getting. Put it this way: the more stuff I see coming into town, a lot of these people there's no younger kids really coming up that actually, yeah, they're shaping, but to do production. Like, oh my God, I got guys, in their 60s. Most of my crew's in their 60s. Got
Yeah,
one young kid, he's 31. Like, that's the youngest kid. The kids we have brought in, they last 6 months, if that. So it's kind of come like these, I don't know, extinct
yeah,
in a way. Like, are we the last generation of it? Like, because these guys are like, and I'm just trying to grab all of it. Every time someone comes in, I'm grabbing information. Hey, what did you use to do this pin line? How did you do that? Because these just they're not going to be here forever. They're,
yeah,
and it's really sad. It's a sad moment, really.
yeah,
It's a paradigm shift. Like, it's like, wow, there's no one coming up underneath us. Like, what is going to be the state of manufacturing boards in the
yeah,
United States if there's no skilled craftsmen and these guys are like walking around with canes and they're stuck to the
yeah.
resin on the floor? It's like, I'm not saying that's extreme version,
Oh, but I
right?
think
But
it's an
it,
interesting thing.
yeah, if you think about it, and people are probably going to correct me when they hear this, like, oh, well, they're so and so, they're out there. But what I've seen and what I see across the street, they're not. That they don't. I don't know. It's the generation of how just they're wired. But yeah, there's the craftsmen are few and far between. So it might be the only option in 10 years. 15 years. I don't know. There'll always be your hobbyists. They'll be there making their boards start to finish. But as like a crew of guys, like, there's not that many people coming behind these guys.
Wow.
These guys, if you go to any of these factories, you talk to them, they've worked at almost every one of the factories, and they know. So we all know each other. And these guys,
Yeah,
they're great, and they're made. They're very skilled. They've used everything, and and the sad part is they're still making the same amount of money as they were 10 years ago. So
yeah, yeah.
I
It's
don't want to
tough.
leave it on a somber note, but yeah,
Oh, no,
let's maybe a little more question.
no, no. It's fine. I mean, it's fascinating, the idea of where will we be in 10 years? What will it look like? Will
Yeah,
there
and I could be
be?
wrong. You have surf parks popping up. Maybe it's be a whole spring of boards, but I for what I've seen, the overseas stuff, like that mass production, it's coming in. It's coming in hot. You know what I mean?
Have you ever been on Stab in the Dark?
I have, yeah. Like 3, 4 years ago when Taj did it, we did the dark arts.
Yeah. Well, we need to get you back on Stab in the Dark, man. Or one of the Stab things. That just seems like such a great marketing vehicle. And you're one of the great, I don't want to say young, but you're one of the great surfboard manufacturers here in North America. And in fact, Michael Barron should friggin' be on Stab in the Dark.
Yeah.
Like, how
Hey,
come he doesn't
guys,
get more love?
100%. There's a lot of guys, 100%. But it's politics and everything, right? At the end of the day,
Yeah.
advertising rules and who you're with at the time or in bed with, it all comes down to that. It's not like it's never who's the best. It's who's doing what the
You know. But I mean, how many times do we need to see? And I love Paizel and Channel Islands. I
Yeah.
own their boards. I ride their boards. But I mean, as an end user of Stab in the Dark, I would much rather watch, you know, DJ Kane, Michael Barron, Jason Bennett, and there's another 10 guys, like say up in the Ventura or wherever area that are just, you know, I don't know the best way to characterize you guys, just kind of like salt of the earth.
Yeah, I mean, we've dedicated our whole lives to it. You know what I mean? We were those Groms that started surfing and wanted to stay doing it, and we fell into surfboards, and we're way in too deep. It's this we live it, like literally, like Michael, DJ, they're over there every day. You come see any one of my guys, we got resin paint on our hands, and we do it to 6 o'clock at night every day. We're still in the water, a lot, and the bigger manufacturers, they have a little bit better resources where they're actually not in the trenches daily. So yeah, we are the grit, the core of it. And there's a group of us that are like really standing tough and strong and, just holding on. It might be one or two fingers, but it's as long as we got those, we're holding.
Well, I'm a big fan of what you guys do, and I'm going to urge the listeners to support guys like you who make incredibly great surfboards. And yeah, I'll leave with this. We're honoring Eric Arakawa this year at the Boardroom Show. He's our icon of foam. Um, what do you know about Eric? Any insights into Eric Arakawa?
I mean, yeah, I mean, I grew up watching all the old 80s surf videos, everybody riding his boards at pipe, that classic logo, Derek Ho.
Bonnie Burns.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like when his name comes up, and we as shapers too, very egotistic. Like, oh, this guy did this, that. Like every time that guy's name comes up, it's like royalty. You know what I mean? The guy's just, it's like you want one of his boards. Or if you're going North Shore, you want one of his boards. Him, Tokoro, like those names pop up. It's like they're the shit. You need those boards. You're gonna do good out there.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Jason, look, we've had a great talk. I appreciate your time this morning. I know you're a busy guy, and I look forward to seeing you real soon here in the future. Thanks so much for being a part of this.
Yes, sir. Good talking to you.
Okay, see you, Jason.
Hey, appreciate it.